ally, but be a good ally.
If you want to be a good ally in this moment, white corporation, white person with the means, that's a worthy allyship. On a ground level, if you're just working hard every week, you don't know what to do, you're an electrician, you're a plumber, grab one young man who doesn't look like you, a young woman, and teach them that trade. That's allyship. Allyship isn't just throwing the money, but if you got the big money, put it towards somewhere. But on a very real and basic level, my son had an accident with a man named Keith. I bought my son a car. My son Malik, with a very pretty girl in the front seat, rear-ended this guy Keith. Um, Calls me. I pull up to Keith and the police officer. I say, if he'll allow me to handle this privately, I just don't want to call my insurance company because, I had just got in an accident. I drive fast. My son, Keith, in good faith, gave me the opportunity to do that. And me and this man became friends. I'm literally friends with this white man who told me about Atlanta pre-white flight and desegregation, who's taught me about fatherhood and the importance of presence in your child's life. That doesn't happen if we're not open for it to happen. So an allyship with white people doesn't have to be an organization of saving the world. But you do have to do what me and Keith did. You do have to, on blind faith, trust someone who doesn't look like you and allow that person to educate you. So an allyship is not just calling your black friend saying what I do. It's going to black organizations that might be local and saying what am I do. It's calling your friend and saying, what's the next thing you're doing? And I want to be an extra set of hands. Doesn't mean you get to go to the black people meeting, but it does mean if they say I'm going to feed people on Skid Row, you show up. And you show up with empathy and care and you do it. And I'm going to tell you, we need doctors in that space. We need lawyers in that space. We need legislators in that space. We need the people who are really empowered to be in that space because there's some things that need to happen on ground level that once the grassroots people have gotten it here, there needs to be money put behind these things. A lot of the problems that we have now that are erupting could have been solved in 96, 2006, 2016, and all these other years, but we chose not to because we trusted the right thing's going to happen. Right thing's not going to happen unless we make it. And after that, you have the potential to truly be brothers and sisters. You have the potential to be past the letting cultural, national, religious markers evict the fact that I know that I'm talking and I'm with a human being, and at our very core, past any physical difference, my job is to honor the soul of that other human being. So there's no need to have allies because I'm not at war. I truly have a brother and sister. There's no need to have an ally because there's no threat of war. I refuse to send any 18-year-old boy or girl off to die. And that has to be something that's much, much deeper than policy, much, much deeper than the human condition in the last 500 years. We have to get back to that. So that's my humble opinion. I don't know, where that takes white America, but I hope we stay standing up, fighting together.
Mike, we've been having this great conversation, and a lot of people watching, they probably want to know, because again, these things happen in flashes where 1 minute we're talking about this, everybody's fired up, everybody's willing to do things, and then the next minute, the momentum dies. So how can the people who are watching now, how can they keep this conversation, this action, this momentum going?
Take this conversation, get 8 to 10 people around you, your neighbors and people who live within 10 square miles, and start to see what you can do to affect. And then connect with other people that may be in closer proximity, 30, 40, 50 miles, even another city or places that are doing it right, in other places. Connect with those people. And just, if all of us do a little bit, no one has to do a lot. If all of us do a little, if all of us pick a little to do, no one will have to do a lot.
That's a word right there. If we all do a little bit, nobody has to do a lot.
Has to do a lot, absolutely.
Nobody has to do a lot. Mike, I have enjoyed this conversation like I enjoy every conversation with you. I can certainly talk to you. Yes, it is mutual. The mutual respect and love of society right here. Thank you. And more importantly, thank you for everything you do on the ground. I mean, so many people, I knew that you tell the truth the way it needs to be told, but a lot of people during this time of crisis have been exposed to you and understand that, you really are for the people. This is called We the People. This is you all day long. So thank you for all the work and all the inspiration, all the words, everything that you're adding to this conversation, and more importantly, to this action. With that said, we have to say goodbye, but we don't have to get out of here just yet. because I'm gonna toss this on to my brother
Okay.
Van Jules, who can take it from here.
Jamel and I, we spent the past hour, we've been talking to Killer Mike, we've been talking to Elaine Welteroth. We also got a chance to see that amazing video from Lil Baby. Jamel, what did you get from your conversation with Killer Mike? And more importantly to me, what do you make of this moment that we're in?
The one thing you can always expect from Killer Mike is blunt honesty. I think that's why a lot of people look at him as a really credible voice right now. He's honest about what he knows and honest about what he doesn't know. So I think when you have those elements, that's going to always make for a pretty good conversation. I'm with you. I mean, this moment at the same time is welcome. It's also a little bit surreal in terms of what took us so long to get here, to make sure that we're not always starting from ground zero every time we have to have a significant conversation about race in this country.
Why do you think it's different this time? Because, I mean, there have been videos before, and yet people still now act like they're shocked. Help me understand what's different this time from your point of view. What's your theory?
It's two things that I think stood out about the George Floyd video. One, there was no yeah, but. And granted, in my mind, we've seen videos where there was no yeah, but people nevertheless invented a yeah, but. But in this one, there really wasn't one, even if you were Stretch Armstrong trying to stretch and find one, there just wasn't one. What always has just stuck with me is the look on this officer's face as he was kneeling on George Floyd's neck. It was so cold. It was as if this were Thursday. And he showed such a little emotion, remorse, any emotion you want to name. He didn't show any of that as he killed a man in the middle of the street with bystanders looking on. So I think that situation, coupled with the fact we had already been reeling from Ahmaud Arbery, we had already been reeling from Breonna Taylor. And even though the situation wasn't fatal, there was definitely a storm of frustration at what happened with Christian Cooper. So this all together leads us to this moment where finally, even the most adamant naysayers who wanted to pretend as if this wasn't a structural problem, what could they say? I mean, there was nothing else that could be said. And I think everybody who was already fed up decided now is the moment, now is the time. The world has slowed down because of COVID-19. If we're going to address this,
for somebody to come to me and say, I made my whole family watch the 13 and read the new Jim Crow and read White Fragility, and we had a question on page 52. Now, hey, we can have that conversation all day long because you're doing your homework, but don't flop on me like you never heard of Google. If you wanted to know about cryptocurrencies or whatever, you find that stuff out before any black person ever heard of it. So I'm sure you can educate yourself about anything you want to know. I have to say something to you because I've never gotten a chance to talk to you. I feel like I know you because I'm such a big, mad, crazy Stan and fan. But I love you to death. I just am so proud of you. I'm saying proud of you almost as Patrick. I am so proud that you exist. Where do you find the strength to continue to do what you're doing and say what you're saying, even in the face of opposition, to the point where now the whole world has to listen to you? Where did you find the strength when they weren't listening?
I guess maybe this is just part of the Black woman's condition, is that we don't know any other way. And most of us, I come from a line of Black women who were just like this. My mother's like this. My grandmother was like this, where it's the old phrase we've all used as Black people, making a way out of no way. And scream until they hear you. You know what I'm saying? Is that because the opposite, to do the opposite of that is what? Is that I can't even afford to do that. I don't know any other mode but to fight for what's right, but to try to stand on the right side of history, but to speak for people who don't have a voice or a platform as large as mine, because somebody did it for me.
What advice do you have for people who want to have these conversations, maybe not as well spoken, not as well read as you might be, but who really are sincere and want to have a conversation?
I think you have to start from a point of honesty and being real about what some of your beliefs, prejudice, biases are, where they come from, why you learned them. I think if you take anything else beyond race, as we get older, we do a whole lot of unlearning. Young folks, when you get to like your 30s, you do a whole lot of that, right? But yeah, my advice is to always start from the point of truth and honesty and self-awareness, and you'd be surprised what you can get accomplished just by digging into those things. I mean, if you know you come from a racist background, or if you come from where race was talking about a certain way, be honest about what those conversations were and what they taught you, and ask yourself, is this the kind of person that you really want to be?
Yeah, I feel like there's a 21st century mindset and a 21st century skill set that, everybody's going to need a mindset of empathy. I mean, we're going to be dealing with, people, every color, flavor, every kind of human being ever born. We all have to deal with each other now because of the internet, because of just the world economy. You're going to be competing against people in China and Nigeria. That's just the world. So you have to have a mindset of empathy to really try to understand where people are coming from. You have to have a skill set of listening. If you understand this conversation, you can talk to Black folk and brown folk and Muslims, everybody else. So we're trying to confer a benefit to you. We're trying to make you better. It'll make my life better, but it'll make your life better too. Now, what charity are you supporting?
Well, as some people can maybe see my T-shirt, it says support Black journalists, right? The lack of still Black journalists in most newsrooms is pretty appalling. What changed my life and what got me really on the right path in this business was being a member of the National Association of Black Journalists. NABJ is the largest minority journalism organization in the country. The development, the networking, job fair, internships, scholarships, what happens there has changed lives. It changed a lot of people's careers. I mean, people like you, Van, and everybody you want to think of, Roland Martin, Soledad O'Brien. It's just a number of people, Michael Wilbon, that are a part of this organization and have been able to build legacies there. And so it's on us to, again, usher in this next generation of young journalists who, I get it right now, feeling really discouraged when they look at not just what a lot of newsrooms look like, a lot of networks look like, but also we're under the under the shadow of a pandemic right now. So there's a lot of journalists who have lost their jobs. A lot of companies are downsizing. They need a reason to believe and to be in this business. And so NABJ has done so much for my career and continues to do that for others. So that's the charity that I support and the organization that has changed my life and that of many others.
Well, listen, I second that, third that, and fourth that. NABJ is a beautiful organization. I've got groups I want to support as well. But what I want to say to you is just thank you for your light, for your leadership, for your courage, for your entrepreneurship, for your T-shirts and all that type of stuff. Make sure to support the sister businesses, and let's keep this conversation going. Much love to you.
Thank you, Van. This is a pleasure.
I got good news for you. I got bad news for you. The good news is that people are activating all around the world, all across the planet for change. That is a powerful moment. Here's the bad news. Unfortunately, this is not a one answer fixes everything situation. We're talking about systemic problems, which means it's not just one law or one person. You need 360 degrees of change to shift to get the outcome that's right. But we can get there if we keep talking, if we keep working, if we keep building. And if we do that, we can reshape America. That can be done. It's been done in the past. We can move the whole world in a better direction. So I hope that your cell phone right now is full of screenshots of these tools that we've been trying to give you to continue taking action from this virtual town hall. When the stream ends, the conversation should not end. We got to keep pushing. We got to keep going. We are in an important moment in history. And what you do is going to determine the outcome. 2020 is going to be talked about for 20 years, 100 years, maybe 1,000 years. But the future is not written. It's up to what you and I do and what you and I decide is going to happen. So I want to give a special thanks to the powerful voices that we've had: Elaine Welteroth, Killer Mike, Jamel Hill. Make sure you visit 50percentpledge.org to learn more about the power of money. Also visit my organization, reformalliance.com. We're trying to make a change. Let's be about it, not just talk about it. I'm Van Jones.